The snow has finally melted. We can finally go to the outdoor track. It's still really cold though. But we're here to answer one question. Which is more worth your hard-earned dollars? The Brooks Adrenaline 25s or the Adrenaline 24s? Now these are my shoes. No sponsorships here. I bought them with my cold, hard-earned dollars. In the case of the 25s, they were $155 and still are on their website. In the case of the 24s, when I bought them, they were $140. Now you can find them at Dick's, you can find them at DSW for about 115 bucks. I tell you what, I don't want to take my gloves off to put these shoes on. It's so cold out. There's definitely a style difference between the 24s and the 25s. And when these first came out, when I saw them online, I was more surprised than when I saw this morning that Sam Minella had a face reveal. But really, there are so many cosmetic upgrades, so many cosmetic differences. For example, this collar right here, which I'm still not really digging. I kind of don't really understand the point of it. It's so small, it doesn't really add anything, but they definitely added that on along with this pull tab that was not on the 24s. In addition, they added more support, more padding to the heel, and that right away, as soon as you put them on, you notice that difference. Going from old Tim's to supportive running shoes is definitely a move. I leave for Florida in about 3 hours, and you have no idea how excited I am. One of the big things that I noticed with these shoes right after reviewing them, right after I had gotten them, was just how responsive the foam is compared to the 24s. The 24s are technically a support shoe, but I really feel like these are actually a support shoe. These are true, authentic stability, support, extra padding, extra cushion shoes. I mean, you can just tell just by like striking your heel. If you walk or you do any sort of like heel striking, these are so comfortable. They really are. Anything to do with speed, I feel like it's a little bit more responsive. It's not necessarily like a carbon plate shoe where you're gonna get like all of that feedback, but it's pretty darn close. Oh yeah, this is the move. One on each foot. Don't ever do this, by the way. Don't ever put them side by side like this. But one thing I'm noticing right off the bat, the 24s are substantially lighter than the 25s. I think it's just the extra padding, but they feel so much lighter. I feel like I can really, strike my leg down a lot quicker than these guys. I do want to make note of something that really I only noticed when I had started wearing the 25s a little bit more. Do you notice how much wider the 25s are compared to the 24s? The 25s are on my left, your right. Especially at the base, you can notice how they're just a little bit wider. They've got a little bit more room for your toes to move about in. And also a big thing too, these have been worn substantially more than the 25s. I mean, I've only had the 25s for about, like I said, 3 or 4 months, whereas I've had these for about 1.5 years. But the wear, these wore so much quicker compared to the 25s. It's a different kind of padding too on the bottom. I had kind of equated it to like a balding tire, but it's pretty true. It kind of has that rubbery quality that I feel like I can just, go like this and just make it wear away within a couple minutes. Having them close side by side here, I don't know. I still kind of like the look of the 24s more than the 25s. I'm not sure what it is about it. They do look more flat. They do have the patented Brooks pancake effect. They really do. They're so flat. But it's just something about this, like the collar up here, it's just not doing it for me. And all the extra creases and everything too. It just makes it look a little bit fake, for lack of a better term, a little bit knockoff. Now, as I'm wearing these around, as I'm walking around in them, it feels like I'm going back to the Tims. That's how little padding they have. When they started out, they actually had a pretty decent amount of padding, and going from an old pair of 22s to the 24s was a noticeable jump. But as they've worn, they're very firm. When you compare them side by side to the 25s, the padding in the heel, it may as well not be there. It's really like, it's not good. It almost feels like I'm walking around in the hoax. That's how bad it is. But there's one number in my head that keeps popping up as I'm wearing these. $115. If you're just walking around in these, if you have a job where you're constantly on your feet, you're not doing any sort of serious running, you just want them to be comfortable, you want to upgrade from like maybe a pair of shoes that you have that are a little bit old, really good deal. Genuinely a really, really good deal. Speed. I am speed. Damn, it's cold. So we've compared them side by side, we've put speed in them, and we've worn them in the blustery cold. So what do we think about the pure adrenaline showdown? Both of these shoes could be great for walking, jogging, power walking. If you got a job where you're on your feet constantly, these would both be great contenders. This is a personal preference, but I do believe that the colorways in the 24s do look better than the 25s, especially the women's colors. I'd mentioned that in the 25 review, but the women's colorways are so bland, so basic. The men really aren't that much better. The 24s, I don't know what it is, but they look a little bit better to me. They're far cheaper. They're $40 cheaper than the 25s, which $155 for a pair of Adrenalins is just, it's too much money. It's way too much. However, I cannot get behind the fact that these wear so quickly. The heel has much less support than the 25s, and the toe, I didn't even get to mention that, but this has withered away, this toe box region, so much that it feels like I'm just running on the track. They are completely different shoes. I'm assuming that it's just like the extra padding, but these just feel like a completely different shoe, a completely different style than the 24s. But after all that, after months of use, years of use in this case, which one would I go with if money wasn't the question, if I had $160 to spend on a pair of running shoes and I really wanted to get a pair of Brooks Adrenalins? Which one would I get? Well, I think that we need to go to Florida Cam for a verdict on that. Welcome to Florida, just like that. The magic of editing. And of course, it's going to be the 25s. This is just a much better shoe. It's more comfortable. It's got more padding. Brooks did a really good job with the redesign. There are some elements of it that I don't like I had mentioned, but for the most part, this is just such a better shoe. I think $160 should be too much for Adrenalins or just for a running shoe in general, but look at how well it's held up in the beautiful Florida sunshine, actually kind of chilly sunshine. And that's not to say that the 24s are a bad shoe by any means. They're a really, really good shoe for the price tag. If you have a job, like I said, where you're on your feet constantly, you need to upgrade from a pair of worn out running shoes, definitely worth the price tag. If you're doing any sort of serious running though, I might consider other options. Maybe ASIC, maybe New Balance. They make some pretty good supportive running shoes. I don't think that the 24 is really held up well with some like high impact running. But yeah, that's it. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to finally go get some good weather, get out of the dreary New York. I was going to say sun, but it's not even sun. Thank you so much for watching. As always, more content to come. Until then, I'll see y'all later.